Good morning, everyone. Am I on? I don't hear an echo, so. Can everyone hear me just fine? All right. Good morning. How's everyone doing this week? I hate to state the obvious, but I'm not Wayne, so. Yeah, the facial, yeah. Anyway, so I'm here to cover for him. I should be covering for him all month, but things have popped up and I'll be gone the next 2 weeks actually. So I'm going to cover for him today and I'm going to cover for him the last week. So guess I'm going to leave you all fishing for yourselves on the next 2 weeks. But today we're going to be studying Ruth. And what we're going to do this morning is we're going to actually read through the book of Ruth. And at the end of the class, we're going to ask some questions and kind of go over the book. It only takes, it took me about 15 minutes to read it last night, so it's not a very long book. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, starting verse 1 in Ruth. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. And a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the son of his wife Naomi. And the name of his wife Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went into the country of Moab and remained there. But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These 2 Moabite wives, the name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. They lived there about 10 years. And both Mahlon and Chilion died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go return each of you to her mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband." Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, "No, we will return with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb, that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, even if I should have a husband this night and should bear sons, would you therefore wait till they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me." Then they lifted up their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you." And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more. So the 2 sons of them went on, and so the 2 of them, I don't know why I keep saying sons, but I keep seeing it in the Bible for some reason. So the 2 of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi, when the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." So she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." And they answered, "The Lord bless you." Then Boaz said to his young man who was in charge of the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" And the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She said, 'Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers.' So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for the short rest." Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field, that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" But Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Then she said, "I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." And at mealtime Boaz said to her, "Come here and eat some bread, and dip your morsel in the wine." So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain. And she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also put out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." So she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up and went into the city. Her mother-in-law saw that she had gleaned. She also brought out and gave her what food she had left over after being satisfied. And her mother-in-law said to her, "Where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked and said, "The man's name with whom I have worked today is Boaz." And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." Naomi also said to her, "The man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers." And Ruth the Moabite said, "Besides, he said to me, 'You shall keep close by my young men until they have finished all my harvest.'" Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, "It is good, my daughter, that you go out and with his young women, lest in another field you be assaulted." So she kept close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and what harvest, and she had lived with her mother-in-law. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak, and go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." And she replied, "All that you say I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." And he said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, and that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning." So she lay at his feet until the morning, but arose before one could recognize another. And he said, "Let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor." And he said, "Bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out." So she held it, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then she went into the city, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "How did you fare, my daughter?" Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, "These 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, 'You must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law.'" She replied, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today." Now Boaz had gone up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the Redeemer of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, "Turn aside, friend, sit down here." And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." So they sat down. Then he said to the Redeemer, "Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. So I thought I would tell you of it and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not, tell me, that I may know, for there is no one besides you to redeem it, and I come after you." And he said, "I will redeem it." Then Boaz said, "The day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance." And the Redeemer said, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption yourself, for I cannot redeem it." Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and the exchanging. To confirm a transaction, the one drew off his sandal and gave it to the other. And this was the manner of attesting in Israel. So when the Redeemer said to Boaz, "Buy it for yourself," he drew off his sandal. Then Boaz said to the elders of all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech, and all that belonged to Chilion and to Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his native place. You are witnesses this day." Then all the people who were at the gate and the elders said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you act worthily in Ephrathah and be renowned in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And he went into her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Then the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her lap, and became his nurse. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram. Ram fathered Amminadab. Amminadab fathered Nahshon. Nahshon fathered Salmon. Salmon fathered Boaz. Boaz fathered Obed. Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered David. Right. So with all of that read, after reading that, who is Elimelech? Naomi's husband. Yes, it's an easy question. Where were they from? Where did they originate? Well, Judah's in Bethlehem, isn't it? So, yeah.
It says a certain man in Bethlehem.
Exactly, Judah. Judah is what I was looking for, but Bethlehem, yes, that works too. How many children did Elimelech and Naomi have? 2 sons. And were their sons married? And eventually, yes, who were they married to? What were their names? What were their wives' names? Orpah and Ruth. Very good. Now, what happened to Elimelech? He died. And how many years later did his sons die? I believe it actually says. 10 years, yes. What happened to Naomi's sons? Wait, that was the same question, my bad. I reworded it. Why did Naomi not want her daughter-in-laws to go with her from Moab? Yeah, where they would be comfortable. Naomi didn't really have anything to offer them at this point. They couldn't. She had no children, no other sons for Ruth and Orpah to marry. So she told them to go on, find someone else. Go back to your homeland, your native land. Let's put ourselves in Ruth and Orpah's shoes for a second, or more of Ruth's, I guess. What did Ruth have to gain from going with Naomi? What did she have to gain? What are some benefits that she had from following Ruth to Bethlehem? In earthly terms, not really. And I mean, if we, what did you say, Gail?
I was going to say things that she
Yeah, at the time she didn't really know anything. I mean, yeah.
you and I'll have your daughter.
Yeah, the fact is now, after we see the whole picture, it's easy for us to tell, she has a whole lot to gain from this. And in fact, she gains a whole lot. I mean, she gets riches, she gets another husband. But what does she have to lose if she goes with Naomi? So she would be losing the opportunity to maybe remarry. She had the chance of going back to Moab and to remarry. She also had the opportunity to go back to where she grew up and where her family is. She can go back to her mother. So she pretty much, Ruth has everything to lose and nothing to gain from her perspective at this point. So. And yet she decides to go with Naomi anyway. Yeah, Naomi, I mean, she's trying to talk him out of it. And in fact, at the very beginning, when Naomi first says this, both Orpah and Ruth say, we're going to stay with you. We don't want to go back. We love you too much. We want to stay. But Naomi's able to convince Orpah, but she wasn't able to convince Ruth. Ruth had had this great passion for her mother-in-law to take care of her, and to go back with her to Bethlehem. So they go back to Bethlehem, and how did the town receive her? We're in chapter 1, if you don't know this. Verse 19, I believe it says. Okay, what version are you reading? Okay, that sounds about right, yeah. Mine said stirred. I'm not surprised if there's other ways it says it, but yeah, they were stirred. And this is, who are they going back to? Who is Bethlehem to this family? It's home, yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. In verse 20, though, why does she say what she says there in verse 20? Exactly, that's why she says that, yeah. Okay, so what are some characteristics we see in Ruth? Not just Ruth, but Naomi as well. What are some characteristics we see in them? Definitely. There's a lot of selflessness. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of positive characteristics all throughout the whole story of Ruth, which makes it such a great book. It's a great book that we can look at and we can be like, hey, this is the way we need to be acting. Who does Ruth's characteristics foreshadow? I guess. I mean, how does her characteristics? Who else has characteristics like this, I guess? Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. There's tons of them out there that go along with this. But yeah, Jesus, what is unique, I guess, what is unique about this? What relation does Ruth have to Jesus? Yeah, great. Ruth is actually related to Jesus, yes. Jesus is from Ruth's seed. Something else that's kind of interesting to point out is pretty much throughout the Bible we see all these generations. They all put focus on the male, the husband. But in this case, it's more of Ruth that they're putting the focus on in Jesus' lineage than it is Boaz. And I believe even, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Matthew, when they go through the lineage, Ruth is mentioned. Did you have something? Yeah. So, let's see. So how can we learn and benefit from his characteristics in our own relationships? Kind of an open-ended question, I guess, but get along with your mother-in-law, yes. Yeah, definitely. How can we sacrifice in our own relationships to be selfless to other people? Be selfless to, I guess, maybe our relationships here at 14th Avenue. How can we be selfless? How can we be sacrificial? How can we be loving, generous, kind to one another? Yeah. Okay, going on to chapter 2. Who is Boaz? What do we know about Boaz? There's a kinsman? Okay. Yeah, we find out he's a little older. Yes. Wealthy? Yes, he's wealthy. Did you have something else? Oh, okay. Anything else? Definitely, yeah.
He's wealthy, but he's not rich.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
God laws about being a corner,
Definitely, yeah.
especially with his widow.
Certainly, and yeah.
I mean, he brings up to God almost every time.
Yeah, that's something interesting.
Blessed the Lord my God.
Yeah, God is actually mentioned quite a bit throughout the book of Ruth. It's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, he's a. The one thing I didn't hear is that he's a relative. Well, he's a kinsman. You said kinsman. Yeah, he's from the what was it? The tribe of or the clan of Elimelech. I said it great every time up until now. But he's also a farmer as well. So, which is where he gets most of his riches, I guess. Okay, let's see. Gotta find where I am again. Okay, so Ruth requested that Naomi allow her to go glean in the fields. What does this suggest about Ruth's character here? And we talked about all these characteristics a second ago. What does this suggest about Ruth? Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Also, what does this reveal about the... Oh, I'm sorry, Jenna, did you have something? Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's definitely seen in chapter 1. But she's very quickly to change in chapter 3 and 4. Her viewpoint and positive outlook on things is very quickly to change. So what does this reveal about the economic status of at least Naomi and Ruth, if not just in general, the city of Bethlehem? Yeah.
Even but they because the kids are looking for the land.
Certainly, yeah. Did you have something else? Okay. Yeah. What do we know about farming in the kind of the Old Testament in biblical times? What do we know about that, and as far as the law is concerned? Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of the impression I get of what Ruth is doing here.
Well, there's another aspect of it. Land is really important.
Yeah.
Leaving the corners of
Yeah.
But Boaz was
Yeah.
before he knew that Ruth was his
Yeah, and how did he make sure she had extra?
he told his
Basically, he pretty much said,
extra bit,
yeah, what?
drop it on purpose.
Pretty much, yeah, drop it on purpose. You know, she, pretty much, she doesn't have to pick anything. She just gets whatever she wants.
and also not to feel pressured.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
That was before he knew that she was.
Yeah. Yeah. And If she had gone to any other place, any other farm to do this, what would have happened to her? What was said that would most likely happen to her? Yes, Jenna?
Pretty quick after the then
But he did make the effort to find out who she was. I mean, I doubt he did that to every single person, every poor person that came picking. But who knows? I don't know. What question did you just ask? I just asked a question. Yeah. What does the book of Ruth tell us? What would have happened if she had gone someplace else? Kind of goes along with what Gail was saying a second ago.
I guess they were worried someone would attack her.
Yeah, she probably would have been attacked or something like that. Yeah, assaulted, I believe, is what my Bible says. So why did Boaz? I don't think we answered this question a second ago, but if we did, correct me. Answer me again, I guess. Why did Boaz treat Ruth so well?
That he heard about
Exactly. Answer that question. Let's see. How much grain did Ruth glean from her day in the field? An ephah. Yeah. Does anyone happen to know what that means? I didn't get the chance to look that up. I don't know. I understand it's a lot, but
It's like a bushel.
it's probably more than a day's worth, right?
It's pretty substantial.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so she, and we also talked about how Boaz kind of helped her get that much. He pretty much told his servants to give it to her. Why did Ruth keep back some of the parched grain given to her for lunch? Another way she thought she was selfless, and another way that she put her mother-in-law in front before herself. And what was Naomi's reaction to all this? But when Ruth came back with an ephah of grain and a parcel of food, how did Naomi react to this? Yeah, even though I believe it was Naomi who sent her to Boaz. It's just something I thought was kind of funny. But she was surprised, and she started praising God and blessing Boaz. Has Naomi's disposition changed at this point? What was that? Not a bit? Whoa.
Well, Naomi's
Yes, I'm sorry.
Naomi's cheering up.
Yes, Naomi's getting better. Yeah. She's less gloomy, yes.
She started out saying, I'm not
Yeah. So here Naomi thinks, hey, in chapter 1, Naomi thinks that God has left her. She feels forsaken, and in chapter 2, she sees that God is still with her. Yes, we're just about out of time, but how long did Ruth continue to glean in Boaz's field? Yeah, she continued to glean in the field until the harvest was done. All right, that's all the time that we have. Thank you. Sorry if it was a little boring, but thanks for your participation.